Hey everyone, welcome back. We're going to talk about XRP crypto regulation and what could be a very important week for the whole crypto space next week. It will likely be this week before we know if lawmakers will hold a vote on the Clarity Act. Because of how this vote turns out, crypto, stablecoins, yield, and DeFi may not work the same way in the US for years to come. Paul Barron just released his second study of the Clarity Act. It really shows what's at stake here. Paul says that the Brooks Yield Compromise, which is backed by senators, could really hurt platforms like Coinbase, Kraken, Gemini, and others. But what's more important is that normal buyers or normies could lose even more. Why? Because we might not be able to get return on our crypto anymore. Robinhood is expected to be the biggest winner in this case. They already deal directly with banks and pay return in US dollars. Robinhood moves money into Vanguard and gives some of the return to users. But there's a catch. Robinhood will lose real competition if Coinbase and other crypto-native platforms are taken off the game. It's also easy to get rates back down to zero once there is no longer any competition. This is what happens when Congress makes a monopoly run by lobbyists. Lots of people are interested in crypto because it has a lot of yield. A lot of people make money this way, and that's exactly what makes the old banking system vulnerable. Take a look at it this way. The money in your bank or savings account could be turned into a stable coin, which would earn you a 4 or 5% yield. Most banks, on the other hand, pay less than 1%. This imbalance is shown by crypto, which is why the bank group is working so hard to stop it. Before we go any further, this is why it's so important to be ahead of the curve in stock and crypto markets. That brings me to something I want to quickly tell you. The 100x Club membership might be worth looking into if you want to get ahead early, learn how the best investors think, and build real wealth over time. It comes with special weekly stock alerts for stocks that could go up a 100x, crypto insider alerts, a rich mindset framework to help you build wealth that will last a lifetime, top 1% positioning strategies, the 100 stock formula, and a full 100x your wealth system made for people who think about the long term. It has a link in the response that was pinned. Now let's talk about what's going on in Washington. Crypto in America also wrote about this topic, and they had some very important things to say. Lawmakers are still trying to figure out how to handle stablecoins, which are the biggest last-mile problem. This is specifically what a lot of people are calling the interest rewards trap. A lot of Democrats are very worried about this problem now, mostly because of strong lobbying pressure. It's not just Democrats, though. The same points are being heard by Republicans as well. The bill will deal with this problem. It's one of the last things that needs to be done to pass it. Senator Angela Also Brooks from Maryland is in charge of the Democratic side of the operation. She is already working with Republicans to find a way to get draft language out there. Other important problems are also being discussed. This is a big one. How does decentralized finance connect to illegal finance? Lawmakers want to know what the Treasury should do and how DeFi should be controlled. There's also the matter of how to protect developers both from stock laws and the Commodity Exchange Act. That is a huge problem, because the US might not be able to innovate if there aren't clear safeguards. On the bright side, lawmakers have been having long, in-depth talks over the holiday break and into the new year, and it looks like they are getting closer to a deal. Next, there's conflicts of interest, which everyone loves to talk about. What does the president have to do with digital assets? What about the head of state's family? There are direct talks going on between the White House and Senate Democrats about this part of the bill. Senator Adam Schiff is in charge of these talks. It's not clear how or when this will be fixed. And this is where partisan politics really come into play. A lot of people think that this bill would have been passed by now if the president and his family had never talked about crypto in public. Many people think that the bill could move forward pretty quickly in the next few weeks if politicians can figure out the problems with stable coins and rewards. Analysts say that a cap on yield is the most likely solution. That way, yield could exist, but only up to a certain point that politicians are okay with. Also, a new group called Investors for Transparency has come into the picture to fight for change. They are running ads during prime time on Fox News, asking people to vote against the DeFi parts of the future crypto market structure bill. This is going on just a few days before senators are supposed to vote in committee. One of the most controversial parts of the bill is DeFi. This is true not only among lawmakers, but also between traditional banks and the crypto business. This is already hard, but most people who aren't into crypto don't understand DeFi at all. They have no idea what's being argued about how it works or why it matters. They only know that the president likes crypto, which is it, and the people who care about this space know what's at stake. But most people don't know that these talks are taking place. At the same time, experts are becoming more positive about XRP on the market. Some people now think that XRP is about to hit a new all-time high, and they want the price to go as high as $9. There are a lot of complaints about rules and confusion right now, but the charts show that there could be a breakout at any time. There are signs that XRP might be getting ready for a big move. I still think that this could be the year that XRP goes into the double digits. Will the number go over 10? That's not as clear. There are many things that need to happen first. But money coming into ETFs could make prices go up a lot over time. ETFs that hold digital assets aren't just for short-term gains. They have to do with long-term cash allocation. A leader in the field recently said that big banks like Morgan Stanley are already thinking about how to add long-term digital assets with real cash value to their clients' portfolios. Thoughts like that don't change right away, but they tend to stay changed after they do. And that's why the way the market is set up, regulated and impacted by ETFs right now, is so very crucial. We're excited about those chances. ETFs that only invest in one industry are an important part of the market. But in the long run, it will be more about giving advice on a large, diverse group of assets inside an ETF. Something like what Franklin Templeton called their easy-peasy service. A wide range of options put together in one package. That's the way the market is going. I really believe that's good for the market as a whole. Over time, more Morgan Stanley clients and institutional clients in general will be able to see how digital assets fit into their long-term portfolio plan. Franklin Templeton actually said that, and I agree with him wholeheartedly. A lot of these people who buy ETFs aren't just interested in short-term gains. They don't plan to sell this in a few months or weeks. It seems like digital assets are something they can keep secret for 5, 10, or even more years. This is capital for the long run. Things get really interesting when you add that to what's going on with XRP. XRP is still not being used, and I don't think it will come back as quickly as many people think it will. There is a story going around that says, okay, you'll get inflows for 6 months, then huge outflows. I'm not sure that's how this will end, especially when institutions are taken into account. A lot of them won't just see it through ETFs. They will also keep the product itself because it can be used in the real world. They will start to make XRP stores. That's what makes XRP really different from Bitcoin. Some people are making a lot of noise about Bitcoin. Every cycle, the news sources tell the same story. Bitcoin will always go up. Bitcoin is like real gold. Everyone needs to be seen. That story was quickly taken up by institutions, and it worked. But now they're beginning to look more than just talk. They have a different question. What fixes problems in the real world? That's where XRP comes in. XRP is all about speed, efficiency, payments, liquidity, and payouts across borders. It is the machinery. Institutions don't just want things that cost more. They need something useful. This change in how we think is very important. On the other hand, the big picture is becoming more and more interesting. Credit card interest rates should be capped at 10%. Institutions shouldn't be able to buy single-family homes, and the $200 billion in mortgage bonds should help bring down rates. And he wants the Federal Reserve to lower interest rates to 1% by 2026. He also wants gas prices to drop to $2 per gallon and has even suggested that people get $2,000 checks to help the economy. Let's get this straight. A lot of this is still just talk. It's almost time for the midterm elections and things are about to get crazy. Let's wait until some of these rules are put into place before I get too excited. But even a small part of this could come true, and it would have a big effect on the economy. Just putting a 10% cap on credit card interest rates would be huge. Imagine how much more money people would have each month if interest rates weren't 20%, 25%, or even 30%. That is money that could be saved, put into stocks, or even crypto. As before, though, we'll see how much of this ends up becoming policy. This number really helps you understand what's going on. About 330,000 people hold more than 10,000 XRP, even though there are about 8 billion people in the world. Take a moment to think about that. You're already ahead of the curve if you have any XRP. You're ahead of the game already. And it doesn't matter how many XRP you have, 10,000, 5,000, 1,000, or even 100. The important thing is that you have XRP. A lot of people love to push these numbers. This much is needed, that amount is needed. That's what I always said. Spend only as much as you can. Do not take on too much. It's much more important to be consistent than to reach a certain amount. Pay attention to what is being said here. You might see a $10,000 XRP around the end of 2026 or the beginning of 2027. You're making a big guess there. To be clear, a lot needs to happen for XRP to get to that level. It's time for banks to stop trying and start putting something into full use. There needs to be a real sense of scarcity. Adoption by institutions needs to speed up. The main thing that sets prices must be utility, not gambling. Let's talk about point of view, though. A lot of people ask, how much XRP do I need? The numbers keep getting bigger. 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, and 100,000 XRP. Most of the time, people who say this have a lot of money. They already have a lot of money. At the same time, these are often the same people who say XRP will reach 5 figures soon. Another way to look at it is this way. Ask someone this. How much cash do you need to be content? A lot of people don't say 10 million or 100 million. A lot of the time they say around 1 million, which is enough to quit their job, pay off their debt, and have free time. Let's figure it out. If XRP reached $10,000, all you'd need is 100 XRP to have $1 million. Don't think that 100 XRP is enough. The goal should always be to get as much as you can handle over time. Most people, though, can't really believe that they need tens of thousands of XRP to make it. Being consistent, building a position slowly, and being patient are the real keys to success. Let time adoption do the heavy work. As far as I can tell, there will be a moment when XRP goes from being a rumor to being fully used. After that, I believe the price might rise really quickly, maybe even to $1,000 before it starts to fully serve its purpose. Once more banks join, more central bank digital currencies are built on the XRP system. Stablecoins go live, and the need for liquidity grows. The price could start to rise to much higher levels. That is, unless Black Swan Capitalist was right the whole time, and the price is already set at thousands of dollars. But remember this most important thing. It's not just the price of XRP that's a win. Every person who owned XRP would be worth $1 million quickly. The US dollar would be worth almost nothing. That's not the point. A banking system that works better, is clearer, and is easier to use is the real winner. To be a part of that future, you need to buy XRP early. No matter what the price does in the end, 3 or 4 digits or somewhere in between. Listen to this quote. You can get $1,000, $10,000, or $100,000 worth of XRP. The real question is, how much will $1,000, $10,000, or $100,000 be worth? This is where things get interesting and debatable. Someone is making the case that money could actually get more value. The idea is that the US dollar could be made stronger again, maybe with gold-backed bonds. Judy Shelton has been very open about this, especially when it comes to the idea of issuing long-term gold-backed bonds for the 250th anniversary. If that happens, people who buy those treasuries would be putting their money behind safe coins that are backed by gold. It's possible that those stable coins could be exchanged for gold and still give a good return. The dollar doesn't fall apart in that case. It actually makes you stronger. It gets more stable and less likely to cause inflation. That's a huge change from the system we've had for decades. Let's be honest now, that change wouldn't just make things work better. It would change everything about it. You would get rid of the traditional form of fractional reserve banking. You could not keep printing fake money that has no real value. Still, I don't think free money goes away overnight. Free money has been very appealing, which is why so many organizations have drawn money at low rates for so long, even from the Bank of Japan. Low interest rates have made all of us very happy. But here's what's important. Credit is still important. Credit is very important to society. The United States is a good place for capital creation. In this country, investors are ready to take chances that people in many other places aren't. That's the point of Silicon Valley. That's why so many new ideas are born here. You can get money from a bank to start a business, make technology, or make your ideas bigger. A big reason why the US is so innovative is that people there are willing to take risks. What you should remember from that quote is this. In fact, money might be worth more in the future than it is now. What if that's true? Then the return on investment for XRP would be big in more than just nominal dollars. Plus, it would be even better if the dollar got stronger. A lot of people miss that point. Here's how this has everything to do with XRP. Moving toward a gold or asset-backed system is one way to get XRP prices higher, like $10,000. Still, what he said about the other thing is just as important. The worth of the US dollar might go up because of XRP. Geography, friction, and waste all make the dollar limited right now. But if you digitize the dollar and use XRP as a bridge asset to move it easily across countries, the dollar can now reach people all over the world in real time. That makes it stronger, not less strong. People often say, when people who own XRP get rich, bread will cost $100. That point of view has never made sense. In the United States, a lot of people become millionaires every single day. Bread isn't $100 yet. It doesn't matter if you get rich. People who do well don't cause the system to break. Being in the game long enough to win is all you need to do. A lot of the old stories from years ago just don't make sense today. Bitcoin maxes were able to get rich back then. People were happy when Bitcoin went to the moon. But people who owned XRP were always told they would always be poor. Acceptance of XRP is actually happening now. But there is opposition. Suddenly, they don't like the idea anymore, because they know that people who own XRP could also get rich. That's okay. They don't have to agree with you. That's what you need time. XRP doesn't need to move tomorrow. It doesn't even need to move next week. It's enough to just stay put for long enough for the basics to work out. If you look at how much Ethereum is worth now, XRP is already worth more than $6. Take that in. It is not a crazy idea to flip Ethereum. It seems very real. I believe the question is when, not if. Things will get really interesting once XRP flips Ethereum. What comes next is the question of whether XRP can attack Bitcoin's market cap. That would really change things, especially as we move toward 2026. This is not advice about money. If that happens, you can expect a lot of fear, doubt, and confusion. Bitcoin high-F flyers will freak out as soon as XRP moves into second place. At the same time, more people will start using XRP with banks and other institutions hanging onto it, and its real-world use is growing. The two of them together are strong, then you add things that are hard to get. Some AI models say that shortages could start to show up as early as February. It wouldn't be a one-week event either. It might last until April or March. Many people say that platforms have too much XRP available. Some say it's 2.6 billion, while others say it's more like 16 billion. But here's the truth. Supply looks big until demand goes through the roof. Retail FOMO, institutional FOMO, and ETF-driven FOMO can all happen at the same time. If the price of XRP starts to rise, this supply could disappear very quickly. When quantity gets tight and price goes up, FOMO gets even worse. The market works that way. Too much fear of missing out is bad for you. That's why you don't go after green lights. That's why you should buy XRP when it turns red. This is why you should stack while the price is low, because it won't always be so cheap. Chance always looks dull before it becomes clear. In the end, none of this matters if you lose your cool, trade too much, or quit too soon. Wait it out. Now that that's over, I appreciate your watching. I'll see you in the next one.